Okay, good morning to everybody and thanks for being here with us just to share some thoughts, some vision around how can we transform the health industry and lives in this sector that I love so much. Let me first share some vision with you, okay? I'm a very passionate guy around health. I'm a loving one on health and how can we transform lives for people by improving their health, okay? But it's true that in the last years we have seen an incredible revolution thanks to technology in a lot of sectors, but not in general in healthcare. Healthcare, still there is a huge gap between what we as citizens, patients, families are demanding the healthcare organization, the healthcare services, and what they are really offering us right now. A huge gap. But a huge gap is also a huge opportunity, for sure. A huge opportunity for all of you, all the innovative people, for innovative technologies, for new approaches can fill that gap and can fill it also in a profitable business model, okay? And that's what we are talking today in this panel with these incredible people that are with me today, okay? I will start by introducing you Abir Mehawej, if I say it right.
Yes, correct.
Okay. Aber is founder of Key Digital and she's the author of BeYou. BeYou is a technological platform to help people to improve their healthy life. And please, Aber, in a very brief way, tell us what BeYou is.
Okay, only 2 minutes. Okay, thanks David for this nice introduction and thanks for being here first of all.
Sorry, did you hear it? Can you hear it?
Okay, so BeYou is a mobile application that helps people to have a better lifestyle. BeYou, it's the first mobile application actually that works on a 3D model combining fitness, nutrition, and emotional. We have developed a dynamic plan to empower people to eat better, move better, and feel better. Of course, today we have a trend of tracking data, tracking calories or steps we make every day. BeYou is not a calorie tracking application. We don't count your steps. What we do is that we cross through smart algorithms the user profile data and his food preference, his training level, and we come up with a unique program to suggest to each user. Users, so they can know what to eat and what to eat. They can see a full training program with details on how to do the exercises, whether they want to train outdoor or indoor. And the most important part in our application is the coaching module, meaning that people, they don't really react with a software. It's not a software application. What we have real coaches, certified coaches behind the application, so people, they can chat with a nutritionist, with a fitness coach, and with a health coach. So making their experience rich and increasing the retention in the application, meaning that the user come back to speak to his coach, and the coach also, he can follow up on the performance of the user. So the application today, it stands really from the crowd because we have combined these 3 axes in one application, and we have seen the first results as fantastic. BeYou is today in the market, and thanks to our big important partner, Technogym, we have been selected in the acceleration program in Italy. We have stayed 3 months in the presence of Technogym at H-Farm Accelerator, and at the end of the acceleration program, we have launched successfully the app. So today it's in the market. We have good downloads and very good metrics.
Really, really interesting, Abir.
Thank
we
you.
will talk later about engagement. How can we obtain the engagement we need for those approaches, okay? Let me introduce you also José Ildefonso Huertas. José is the founder and CEO of First Vision, one of the most known and successful startups in the wire accelerator. And if any of you are basketball lovers, for sure you know First Vision. Please, José, tell us about First Vision.
Hello, everybody. I'm really happy to be here. First Vision is a wearable broadcast system. Actually, it's the unique broadcast system that you can use with players in football, tennis, basketball, any sport. Our product is a jersey that has integrated a camera and a radio frequency transmitter. In this way, we can show to audience what the players are seeing in real time. This is very important to understand because we are not only a camera recording what the player is doing. We are a camera transmitting in real time what he is seeing. Today we have a contract with EuroLeague basketball competition. We are using our product in real games with players and referees. And Andres Iniesta and Sergi Ibaka are partners of the company. What is great and helps to us to defeat the barriers in the market because we are a product that has a very important technological challenge, but the most important is to cross mental barriers that clients have about this kind of technology today. And this is it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Jose, very interesting. Let me also introduce you, Andrew Farquharson.
Close.
Something like that. Hello, Andrew. Andrew is an investor entrepreneur with almost 20 years of success creating and launching new companies, right? He has been working a lot in the US and in Silicon Valley, it's like the paradise for startups and innovative people. So he began his career around genomics, if I'm not wrong, Andrew, is that right? And he also was part of the most successful DNA synthesis company, which is Operon Technologies. Andrew, tell us a little bit about your activity.
So it's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for inviting me. This is my first time actually in Spain. And I look around the conference and I think, wow, this is pretty impressive. So I live in Silicon Valley. I'm a Silicon Valley entrepreneur. And I began my career in research at a biotech company called Genentech. And then I built and sold this company in the DNA space, genomics. And then I became first an angel investor. And I learned a lot about the good and bad of angel investing. And then I co-founded a venture fund. So I co-founded InQ Ventures. I co-founded Venture Health. And basically, we invest in companies that can dramatically improve patient lives. So what that really means is we want to see a massive change in generally clinical outcomes and in health. And the kind of things we invest in things that are very hardcore FDA regulated. So drugs, devices, all the way over to wearable devices. So as I mentioned in an email, one of our investments was in Body Media, a wearable device, which Jawbone ended up acquiring. And so we're in that wearable space. And we see a lot of startups with apps, with wearables. And what we're trying to figure out is how do you build a business? What's reimbursable? How do you get paid? How do you get consumer engagement? Right? And those are often very hard questions to answer. And one more thing I'll say to kind of frame as I think about this conference, almost all of our companies are based in the US, I'm in Silicon Valley, but they come to Europe. They come to Europe as a first starting point for clinical approvals. And Europe is a very interesting market for health because the Europeans are very sensitive to payment. So if you can actually demonstrate adoption in Europe, you've got a winner. And in fact, one of our companies was acquired for $500 million this year based on just an initial approval in Europe. So that's enough rambling, but that's who I am.
Thank you very much, Andrew.
Sure.
Let me introduce you Nicola De Cesare. Nicola is telecommunication engineer, like me, Nicola. And he is the business development manager at Technogym. But the most important question is that they have decided to launch an accelerating strategy around startups. Please, Nicola, tell us a little bit about that.
Hi, David. Thanks. First of all, thanks a lot for having us here, and it's really a terrific panel, as we were saying. In Technogym, we strongly believe that in order to make the healthcare sustainable, you need to work a lot on the health part in order to reduce the care one, because the care one is the most costly. So the better you improve your lifestyle, the more healthy you will be, the less care you will need, and so this will make the entire world more sustainable. We know that technology can play a big role inside this. We come from 30 years of experience in the movement, but we have always been at the edge of the innovation inside, let me say, the wellness equipment, gym equipment manufacturing. But now we are doing the next step. And in order to cope with the disruptive digital innovation that is taking place in this kind of space, we realized that the only way to do it is through an open innovation approach. I mean, we need to refer to the young generation, to the new ideas sparkling in the startup environment, and companies that bring new angle to the typical corporate way to address this issue. And that's why we founded this wellness accelerator in Italy, in the north part, and where we incubate only startups that deal with the wellness space. BeYou, the company of Abir, was one of the first batch that we incubated. With the results were really successful. We got application from all over the world. 60% were outside of Italy. That was quite peculiar for the Italian market. And actually, the 5 that were incubated were all foreigners' company. In our approach, this is a more strategic approach. I mean, we see them as a part of the future evolution of Technogym and how technology can hit this market with a different perspective.
Okay, great. Thank you, Nicola. Let me launch a question to all of you, but let me start with Abir and Jose. How do you see health in the next 10 years, and how do you think startups like yours can help to transform the sector right now?
How can I see, sorry, startups?
How do you think your startups or similar to yours can transform the healthcare sector?
Well, actually, as I mentioned in the beginning of my pitch, that there are thousands of mobile applications today in the store. And people actually, they have perhaps a difficulty to choose what's right for them. Because today we're talking about something also important. We're talking about health. So we have to be really aware about the type of health applications we are running in the market, and to differentiate between the qualitative and the quantitative apps. The trend that the user is today geared to, or it's the very fashionable, is the data-driven application. But data doesn't help to interpret if we don't know who is the person, if we don't know his profile. I cannot know if this data is available, is suitable for him or not. My vision is that we have to come up more with the quality apps. Of course, let's say from my experience with Technogym, being with a partner, pioneer in the wellness industry, we have to really look at the problem from all its angles in order to produce or to give a cost-effective plan to combat a certain problem. In our case, we're working on obesity more, and it's a change in lifestyle. When you speak about obesity, you don't speak only about counting the calories, but you have to speak about the reasons behind obesity, which is 60% of obese people, they are emotionally altered. So I would recommend again to maybe put some more guidelines or regulations in this type of industry.
Okay, I will come back to that later. But let me ask Jose. Jose, and what about wearables? How do you think wearables, or which role does the wearables play in the future and around our health and our way of life?
I think that wearables today are an illusion bubble. I think that wearable technology, it's only a sector in our market, but we are talking about wearable, and we never had talked about water-resistant products. Why? Because it's an attribute. Wearable is not a category of a product. It's only that we have today the technology available to do things with our products that we never have, we never been before, no? To be able to do that. But our product is it's a product called wearable, but the point is it's satisfying a necessity of our clients. That is, the technology has to be invisible for the players. But I really think that we have misunderstood today about this kind of products. In a few years, we will not be talking about wearables. We will be talking about products that you can wear, but it's only an attribute. It's not the essence of the product.
Okay.
And for us, the most important thing in our challenge, in our market, it's the way that we need to introduce really big, really hard technology in a very complicated space, the body of the players. And it's a challenge, but I think that it's not defining the product. I think it's only, as I said, when I watch was water resistant. Today, it's important if the watch has this capability. For me, not.
Okay, okay. Let me then ask the investors' side. Do you agree with Jose, or let me just put it another way? I imagine it's a tough task to decide where to invest and where not. What are the key factors you look to say, hey, I'm investing here? Andrew?
All right. So that's the question, right? How do we pick winners? And the first thing I'll say is we're always going to miss some winners. But we look for things that can dramatically change the market and can demonstrate clinically a real benefit. I agree with your points about wearables and where that's going. I think that over time, everyone in the audience will be just wearing things that are sensors. The question is what's being measured and how are we taking that information and doing things that can actually change outcomes. Obesity is a very tough one to change. One of the companies that we're actually invested in has a sensor that's implanted which monitors how you eat and sends that information to your doctor and back to you and stimulates you when you eat. So there's a feedback system in there which can reprogram patient behavior. So we want to see some kind of mechanism of action, something in there that we can see driving value and then driving scalability. So those are kind of on the technology side. I won't go into a whole long laundry list, but we want to find amazing entrepreneurs, right? We want to see the capital risk being solved.
Yeah.
We hate seeing companies undercapitalized. We want them appropriately capitalized. We want to make sure they can get paid, and we want to make sure that folks like you understand the big milestones ahead, the big risks for your business you have to mitigate, and then how you're going to mitigate them. And are they getting smart people around them? People who've been there and done it and built it. And in the case of wearables, I don't expect an expert in wearables to join the board. I expect a successful entrepreneur who understands the issues to join the board. And having someone come out of an incubator like yours would be interesting because for me, you can help check the box. You can help answer my questions because there was a filter she went through to work with you, and I'd like to kind of understand how you did that.
Yeah. I mean, now we have a little bit different perspective from what you have because being an industrial, we have also a strategic perspective. I mean, also on the synergic value that we test with our business. But when we come to the fundamental of choosing a company that would run into our acceleration, I mean, I pretty much agree. I mean, you look for, first of all, for great people, because if you don't have leader or people that are able to attract leader, you are not going to build anything, although the idea is great. So that's the main part. Regarding the idea itself, the fundamental must be there. Should be in a certain way synergic with what we see the future to be for technology and for the wellness space. And also scalability and the sustainability of the business model should be there. Otherwise, you're just creating utopia. Regarding the wearable device, I pretty much agree with the fact that today, I mean, they are really measuring something, but the real challenge would be the storytelling behind it. I mean, what's in for the people once they measure that? Today, I mean, you just track, you feel challenged, but after 6 months, basically you leave it. If you put something on top of it, I mean, if the data that you are tracking are sent to someone that can read them and can advise you for your life, then you're impacting the life of the patient, then you create engagement, and then people start engaging with this technology. And of course, I mean, you really will succeed in wearable and IoT when basically you will not feel them and you don't see them. I mean, they are there, they do their job, I mean, and that's it. You are not saying today there is a boom of watches. I mean, the watches are more or less at 80% of the people. People look at the time, and that's it. I mean, it's not the boom of the watches. That's how we see it.
Okay,
Can I add one thing?
yeah, sure.
You made a great point. A really good point about engagement.
Yeah.
If you're teaching your customer something which they learn and then they're done, There's not going to be ongoing engagement.
Yeah.
And that's a key point to keep in mind.
Yeah, coming back to the engagement, I will also ask you in general, to all of you. IMS Health published a report some days ago saying there are like more than 200,000 e-health apps in the different stores, in the different markets, in the App Store, in Google Play, and so on. What are we going to do as users with 200,000 apps? 200,000 apps that in real life, nobody in general are using them, is what you were saying before. The lifetime of a user engaged to an app is 1 month, 2 months at maximum, okay? So what do you think are the key factors to be able to sustain a relation between the consumers, the users, and these kind of platforms for a long life?
Yeah, maybe I would be happy to answer this question. As in the beginning, as I said, that we are, bubbled by a lot of health apps. And I think 40% of the applications that you are mentioning, they don't really reach 5,000 downloads. So the big pie, maybe few percentage of this 200,000 application, they are basically the big tracking applications like Fitbit, like MyFitnessPal. They have millions of downloads. So today you have 40% of these applications, they don't reach the 4,000 or 5,000 downloads. And the other part, they are more geared into the tracking applications. So for me, I see it, as I said, it's a trend today. We like data. We like to see how many kilometers we walked today or how many calories we ingested today. But for me, it's only a fashion for today. Because at the end of the day, it's cool. No, we're tracking, but we need results. Because these calories that I am ingesting, maybe they are not the appropriate calories. Maybe I'm starving the whole day and I eat a burger before I go to sleep. So it's not about the quantity, it's about the quality of food we are taking. And people, I think, to come up with innovative or disruptive, applications in this industry, you have to look at results. If you see that I am providing an application that can provide a result to a certain problem, there I could see a sustainability. Also, another thing that, as I mentioned in the pitch of BeYou in the beginning, that we're not a software. People, when they interact only with a software, this is where it becomes at a certain point boring. Yeah. Or you don't come back to that application. What we have done in our application is that our coaches, they give you, first of all, a guideline on what to eat and how to train, but they are behind you. So you have a coach who follows up on you and who sees your performance, how you're losing weight, or how you are maybe exercising, so to give you the ability or the appetite to come back to the application every time. And even if you don't go to consult the application, our coaches, they try to engage with the user. From the first result that I saw, that people, maybe I would say more than 30% of the first users that we got, they are in the first action of the application, they like to speak. So as I said also, one important part of the weight loss is not only fitness and nutrition, as we all know, is you have a base, the emotional base. that it has to be solid. So people, what they want to speak to a coach. They want to explain their problem. They want to see how they are progressing. They want to see some comfortable, answer from their coach. So this is the retention. In my opinion, the retention is that when they see a real feedback, not only a software application. That's one of the key, in my opinion, the key factors in creating valuable applications and creating engagement and retention for users.
Okay.
I completely agree that we have to stop of create applications and we have to create benefits because
That's right.
yeah, because technology, I agree too. It's a trend today. It's fashion, and we are understanding how to use it, and we need to find the benefits urgently and include the human persons with our apps because it is difficult.
Let me introduce a concept. I want to know your opinion. Pharma laboratories are introducing a new concept in the industry, mainly here in Europe, which is value-based business models, which is I'm not going to be paid for the pills I'm producing, but for the real patient outcomes I'm achieving with this treatment. Do you think these new models can also be applied to these new solutions? Andrew?
I think the answer has to be yes. I mean, so I'll say a few just quick bullet points. One, we will never invest in an app. Never gonna happen. Apps alone are not enough. Apps can help enable value, but by themselves, there's nothing there.
Okay.
The 200,000 apps, of course, I mean, most are a complete waste of time. So it really is for us solving a problem. And for us, it's solving a clinical problem. If you can solve the problem, then we figure out technology afterwards. So someone comes to us saying, we have figured out a way to improve obesity, or treat epilepsy, or treat the stroke rate. That'll catch our attention. So that's always been our approach. Now, a new aspect of healthcare innovation is clinical outcomes and cost. So we are looking for innovations that can dramatically improve outcomes and also manage diseases, chronic diseases. And if the entrepreneur has both those things in mind, one, the big problem, the other, the healthcare system cost, and can make those circles overlap, then we become more and more interested.
I'm curious how many investment you have done.
Yeah,
because it's quite tight.
My scar tissue is showing, so yeah.
Anyway, now, I mean, on this point, as I said before, I mean, we really believe that it's a matter of providing something to, I mean, no user is going to stay attached to an app that is not going to engage him in a certain way. And you engage him either with the I mean, the only way you can engage him is giving him something he really cares about. So it would be, I'm obese, I want to lose kilos. Okay, I need to lose kilos. If I don't have result, I'm going to abandon it. Yeah. And then you have to cope with the other factor that you need to stay with him till he gets to lose the first kilos. Because once he's activated, then he's going to stay with you because if he believes in you. You need to gain his trust. And we have seen that although we believe that maybe technology can do something in keeping people, engaged on a more emotional way, is not there yet. I mean, still the human touch helps a lot in bridging these two parts. That's why we invest also in, we believe in the idea of BeYou, but also in other ideas. Of course, I mean, it comes a problem of scalability that you normally sort it out with the marketplace behind it, because typically all these coaches and this kind of human people that are involved in the emotional space have a lot of free time now because it's complicated.
Great. Nicola, Andrew, you both have been working or are working in the US. What are the main differences between being an entrepreneur there and here? Where do you think is easier to launch a new project, to raise funds, and to grow in this sector that we are working?
You're asking how it's different being an entrepreneur in the US versus in Europe?
In Europe, yeah.
Well, that's a great question. I didn't say this, but I'm actually an immigrant to the US. I came from a little island called Jamaica, and I'll tell you, the US is a much better place to start companies than Jamaica. And I'm in Silicon Valley for a reason, because Silicon Valley, there are so many talented people, and they inspire you and they push you. And in fact, Marpera, who's from Spain, she moved to Silicon Valley a few years ago, partly because that's where you chase dreams. So I think there are some advantages for sure. Capital, talent, markets are all in the States. But the folks I see in Europe who are building companies, they're becoming actually very interesting. I feel like the culture in Europe around, in my space in healthcare, it's beginning to become more mature. And the folks that are making it here, frankly, their deals are more attractive from a valuation perspective. I mean, we were chatting before I came in here about where we invest, and we invest in Delaware corporations because we understand preferences in the US. Yeah. But if there are Europeans who are trying to get companies off the ground and building in Europe, that's actually very exciting. Because if you can make it here, you can become a rock star company in the States. So we'd probably actually encourage you to reincorporate in Delaware. But if you can figure it out here, it's exciting. So I hope that's helpful. I haven't built a company here. I have sold, I built businesses here from a US base.
Okay, great.
I want to say something about it, that we were in Silicon Valley because we were finalists of the Intel Make It Wearable contest. And the feeling was that they were more experienced in terms of entrepreneurship. But it's quite similar to the environment here, the startup environment. I feel it like very similar, and the attitude in people, and I think that in US people is more energy, that have more energy than here. But the environment in general was quite similar to Barcelona. I feel it this way.
Okay. Are you from Barcelona?
Yeah, I live there in Barcelona. I don't know very much about the Madrid environment. I think it's quite similar.
I think of this one, I mean, what we have seen, I mean, we have recently opened an office in San Francisco just to be closer to the valley. What we have seen and what we are experiencing, also talking with the regulators, the problem that we see here is that we have got great talent, people really well educated that can really push beyond, but the problem is that the ecosystem here, the infrastructure here makes for them very, very difficult. For example, just their app, if they are launched in Spain, I cannot download them in Italy. That's absolutely crazy because we have no single digital market here. And the other point, this makes difficult for the VC coming over investing straight here. So I understand that when Andrew says we invest in a lot of company, I mean, now the trajectory of European company is always the same. For the good one, you get up to the Series A where you can get 3-4 million over here, and then you do the flip. You just, if you are smart, you have structured your cap table very well. So this guy like you when you go over there. You have a new market. You can scale in Europe. You have your development in Europe where it's cheap. But the brain and the entrepreneur and the marketing is over there. So where they can put the money, where all the IP is, and the company can scale. So what we are creating for us is basically that, being the legislation so complicated and so adverse in terms of ecosystem, makes the advantage, makes the advantage of the US. I mean, you create, you invest, you create some labor here that is good, but then the big hit is on the US, the big headlines are on the US, because the best startups that we incubate here, except for specific case like, I don't know, Skype, this kind of
I have a question I want to ask also. You know, just sorry to jump in, but I think about European culture and starting companies. So how many folks in Europe will build a company, become successful, and then do it again, and do it again, and do it again? Like, we've done 17 exits. Before becoming investors, we had 17 exits. We love building and exiting. Well, I'm just curious how you guys think about that. Do you plan to build and exit and then go back and do it again? Or will you just be done? Like one and done?
That's a good reflection. Let me cut here because we want to have time for a couple of questions. Any question in the room? Come on, be brave. No?
Yeah? Actually, we have got, actually Abir, she's from Lebanon, but, I mean, we have got application to our wellness acceleration that go from Azerbaijan to Silicon Valley, people that came up to our accelerator. We are really completely objective when we go to the valuation to understand who should we invest in. That's why we don't give priority to Italians in any way. We get also some concern for it. But we believe that if you get talent, if you want to get on things that are really valuable, you need to check for talents, and talents can come from everywhere.
In your accelerator, do you have to be based in Italy for how long?
We just ask you to be in Italy, in a very nice place, and they can tell you, but just we ask you to be there for the acceleration program. 3 people of the team, or if you're less, they have to be there for 3 months.
And when is your next program?
Next program, we just completed the...
I think you have a candidate.
We just completed the second wave yesterday. We had the open day. The next one should be, I think, Q1 next year.
Excuse me?
So, beginning of next year.
Beginning of
But you can just check www.wellnessaccelerator.com and you get all the information.
And just one more question, sorry. And in terms of partnerships, what is your just 3 basic criteria for partnerships?
For partnerships?
Yeah.
I mean, at the moment, for partnerships, we believe is another key asset for our new step in terms of wellness.
Yes.
Because wellness, as is developing in this period, is at the cross of different industries. So we are looking a lot to players that come to us from the insurance sector, for example, players that come to us from, let me say, medical sector, where, as I said before, in order to make it more sustainable, we have seen that the physical exercise reduces the cost of care. Is specific, and also improves the effectiveness of a specific care that you apply to a specific patient. And so we are also dealing with the specific cancer center, developing a new way to treat patients starting before, or dialytic center starting before with exercise in order to push back the time where they enter in dialysis, or they get or reduce the time when they recover from the chemotherapies, this kind of area. So a lot of health, a lot of insurances, and others, but they are more, let's say, temporary.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Another question?
Hi there, my name is Diego. I'm from Madrid. You've mentioned the differences between the States and Europe, and it's been quite one of the main points during the conversation. Maybe you didn't mention the fact that Big Brother here, or national plans, are pretty comprehensive versus the US, where you pretty much get used to pay because nobody pays for you. And maybe that's one of the big challenges of monetizing your investment in Europe, right? So having that in mind, what is your view on national plans, national insurance in Spain or in Europe, and when that is not comprehensive, private insurance companies that are very cheap, how they come into place in the next few years, and how you kind of interact with them to make your projects monetizing?
You want to take this?
Does it make sense what I said? Or?
I can take it.
That's fine.
You can take it.
Anyone?
I'm happy to talk to it. Just to make sure I heard the question properly, though.
Yeah, like
So-
like in the next few years here in Europe, where does government and private insurance companies get into place with private initiatives like yours to make money out of your applications or projects? Because in the States, people pay for them. In Europe, people compare your app or your project versus for free in the national insurance, or 60 euros a month private plan.
Yeah, so for us, so this is a whole topic by itself, right? And it's very important to us because everything we do, we care about the payment side of it. And there's a state side, there's a private side. And we prefer to have the state players on board. Now, we don't need to begin with that, but we have to at least understand the case for them. And Spain's a great example, right? It's free for people. So how are you going to make it work for the system? Because the state is not excited about increasing healthcare spend. But if you can dramatically improve outcomes, you can generally get paid by the state. So one of our devices is actually a $15,000 a year, $15,000 per patient per surgery implant. We launched in Europe. Sales are absolutely exploding, even though it's so expensive, because these are patients who are literally crippled by chronic pain. They're in hospitals constantly, and they go from an 8 or a 9 score to a 0 or a 1 score. So for us to go to a payer and say, look at all the money we're saving you, and look at these patients crying because they have such better lives, you can get those paid. But those are hard innovations to find. You're saying our criteria is really narrow. We see maybe 800, 1,000 deals a year, and we're trying to find those. Because payers, if you cannot get them on board, you cannot build the kind of business we like to get in. If you're doing a health and wellness, consumer payment kind of business, we have to understand what's going to drive that adoption, and we're just not wired to figure that out so well. We're much better at looking at proving outcomes, talking to the public payers and the private payers. If we're on the edge, we go with private payers to begin, and hopefully we can build a business and get the public payers on board. Without the public, it's hard to build a business. I hope that it's a very short way of, and we can go offline later if you want.
Yeah, thank you, Andrew. Any more questions? Anyone? Okay, thank you very much for being here. Really, it has been a pleasure.